And we are rolling on June 2nd, where we're hearing reports from Fact, Value, and now we're going to hear the report from the policy group on this beautiful sunny day at UCLA where the sunshine is shining. And the first report from the policy group will be from Bianca.
Can I just...
After all.
So.
Oh, I want to see it here too, so.
Oh. Go for it? Don't go for it.
Okay, I'm going to reset it.
Alright.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I joined this class first and foremost to learn about the principles behind argumentation. And before that I had absolutely zero intention, consciously, subconsciously, whatever, to educate myself about the science behind climate change. Really didn't care, honestly. Full disclosure, I really just didn't. But the process that we all went through to get a good grade in this class actually ended up being a huge bonus and just added so much to my life. Because not only did I learn how to hold my own when talking about one of the most hotly contested topics of our society today, I also learned how to think about information. Information we're given on a constant basis, information we come across ourselves, and information that we've always just kept in the back of our heads. And I'd like to tell a story now. So let's just go back to when I was 9 years old in middle school. I don't know what you guys call that. We call it elementary. For most of my life, I went to a very progressive, liberal, international school where narrow-mindedness was not tolerated. And for that reason, I've had global warming propaganda, quote-unquote, shoved down my throat from a very young age. And I think the first time I watched Inconvenient Truth, I was probably 9 years old. And we watched it, essentially every year, part of our syllabus, until I was grown. And again this year, it's part of our syllabus, which is kind of cyclical and fun. And when the time came to pick sides in the policy group that I was assigned to, I immediately went for just the most intuitive option. I was like, okay, I'll do first speaker for the proposition that reducing carbon emissions is a good policy to mitigate global warming threats. I thought it was easy as it could possibly be. I thought I kind of had it in the bag because all of you, according to the survey at the start of the class, clearly thought that too. And it's backed by the majority of the media, academia, and the people in this class. But the day of the debate rolled around, and it was really actually amazing to see the other side of the story in action. And that's been true for all the debates we've seen this quarter. A lot of us came in with our own assortment of preconceived conceptions and understandings and beliefs about global warming, but all of us have had our viewpoints challenged. And many of us have changed our minds on topics we've had a firm stance on for as long as we can remember. For example, while I ultimately still hold to the resolution that reducing carbon emissions is all in all a good idea, I can now accept, thanks to Rana and David, that it will be accompanied by undeniable caveats which need to be addressed in order for the policy to work. That being said, I still say we pull a British Columbia and give it a whirl. So, to conclude this group report, I can honestly no longer tell you with 100% certainty, like I used to be able to before this class, whether or not global warming is real, catastrophic, imminent, all other buzzwords, at least not in the alarmist sense that I've always been accustomed to. But as we've seen through the course of the quarter, there are facts and arguments on both sides of the debate. And what I can tell you is that I have learned how to criticize information, no matter how reliable or credible or definitive it may seem on both ends of the spectrum. So thank you for that skill, Professor Miller. I'd like to end with a policy claim of my own. Questioning authority, the beliefs of others, and even your own sometimes should be a requirement for life. Thank you guys so much for a fun quarter.
Thank you, Bianca. Next we'll hear from Kai. Thank you, Kai. Green.
Camouflaging with your staple.
Okay, rock and roll.
All right. Hi, my name's Kai.
Hi,
Start my
Kai.
speech with a quick quote. Knowledge is power. Information is liberation. And education is the premise of progress in every society and in every family. Now, for our debate class family, I think that this quote by Nobel Peace Prize award winner Kofi Annan is especially relevant. Now, coming into this class, I had 3 beliefs about global warming. 1, global warming is real and unnatural. 2, global warming is bad. And 3, we have to take action now, or else the world's going to go to ruin. Now, I know a lot of you probably had similar beliefs at the start of class. I actually know so, because I checked on the Miller Survey, 2016. However, as this class progressed, I became increasingly unsure of my own ideas on global warming. Hearing opinions that clash with my own really forced me to become more critical about evidence presented on both sides of the argument. And eventually, I learned how to become open-minded enough and flexible enough to adhere to evidence, even if it contradicted my initial opinions on the matter. And reflecting back now, it's clear to me that my initial beliefs at the start of class have fundamentally changed throughout the course of this class. Now I hold 3 different beliefs. 1, global warming and global cooling are both parts of Earth's natural process. 2, global warming is not necessarily bad, and indeed has some benefits, such as the mitigation of deaths due to extreme cold. And 3, action is necessary, but not to mitigate catastrophic disaster that could happen tomorrow. That's not it. Instead, I think that we should focus on addressing the health issues that come with CO2 and other pollutants that we put into the atmosphere. Now, with regards to my policy debate, I sincerely do believe that the United States should unilaterally reduce carbon emissions, regardless of whether China, India, and other developing nations do so. And after winning my debate with the largest margin of any debate in this class, I think most of you guys also agree with me. The plan that Alexia and I proposed, the fee and dividend plan, is still, in my opinion, the best plan that we can currently take to reduce our output of CO2 and other harmful pollutants without speculating on nuclear energy or forcing people to adopt expensive green technology. And now I'm going to bring it back. Now, all you remember my trip to China, right? And how my mom texted me, warning me to wear face masks every single day. Well, that's what Chinese citizens have to face every single day. That's what they do. And to naysayers who say that it can't happen to us, I say nay to them. Ooh. Before yesterday, I never thought that a shooting could happen at UCLA. But it did. And thank God we were prepared for it. But with our current levels of CO2 output, 5.3 billion tons, is it a possibility that we might be facing the same threats as China does? Yes, it's definitely a possibility. So before that happens, I urge you to acquire power through knowledge, liberate yourselves with credible information, and continue to educate yourselves so that we can make the right decision when the time comes. Thank you.
Thank you, Kai. Alexia will be next. No Exie. Alexia. David Gottlieb. Rock and roll.
Hello everyone, my name is David Gottlieb. I am a Jewish kid from the San Fernando Valley. I'm a communication studies major. I'm a fully declared. My thesis is pretty much that I don't have one. I went through this whole class and it's really like, I feel like I had sort of a firm stance on global warming before. I feel like I kind of thought it was real. But after this class, I really just have no idea. It's troubling to me that I don't know anything about this because we only get one world, and unless you believe in sort of interstellar travel, great movie, Interstellar, by the way, we only get one planet. So it's troubling to me that I don't know because this is pretty significant. But in order to communicate you guys, I guess I will also take you through a journey. I'm just going to talk to you guys a little bit about classes I've taken at UCLA and how sort of a mental tug-of-war has taken place. Sociology 1, first class I took at UCLA. I had to write from the perspective of someone who believed in climate change if I wanted to get a good grade. That's just what we had to do. It was part of the assignment. In COMM 140, I had to analyze an inconvenient truth. That's my persuasive communications class. And that sort of had the side effect that I started to believe it because I'm like, wow, this is really persuasive. Wow, Al Gore is this great guy. Like, what a smart dude. I'm going to go for it. But then 2 other classes that I took this quarter really started to sway me. One of them was COMM M172, Free Speech in the Workplace, taught by Keith Fink, who was a star student of Professor Miller's back in the day, that point out this sort of left slant in academics that sort of maybe undid a little bit of indoctrination that had been done to me in the past. And then this class, and then also COMM 100, which sort of revealed to me issues in the scientific method. I actually took that class last quarter. I'd always trusted the scientific method my whole life, so to see flaws in it, especially with research, was kind of a big deal to me. And so really, just to summarize, it's been a big pull and tug, back and forth. And overall, like as someone who's part of the policy discussion, I don't really know what policy we should do other than more research. I'll talk to you about 2 more classes I took. Stats 10 was when we talked about how we used to not be so sure about smoking. There's since been enough research that I think that we're all pretty sure smoking cigarettes is bad for you. And then another situation, I'm in COMM 116, communication and conflict in couples and family. We're talking about sex and how basically we don't know that much about sex because we've only been studying it for around 50 years. So just to tie it back, as I finished up, just sort of my policy debate. Obviously, I was not for the government. I was telling them not to do any policy at all, and I think that I kind of want to stay there. I just want us to learn more and more. I just want us to get more comfortable with where we are before we start enacting crazy policy that might just be a waste of time. Thank you all so much for being a part of the tug of war that is my brain. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Jewish kid from the San Fernando Valley. Okay, we're going to do one more, and then we're going to reconvene on the second floor of Rolf to finish them.
What?
Because if you have to leave, then you have to leave. But if you haven't done yours, then come with me to the second floor of Rolf Hall, and we'll finish them there. Okay.
This is Rolf.
What?
Can we just add them on to next Wednesday? Is that a possibility? Since we're doing a lot of speeches on Wednesday.
If you have to go, we will add them on to next Wednesday.
Yeah,
Ready? Go. Hi everyone, I'm Elizabeth, more commonly known as Ellie, but
Hi, Ellie.
on my papers. And I was known as the soft-spoken, calm person in my debate, kind of compared to more passionate speakers. I definitely noticed that looking back on the tape, but I think I can attribute that kind of soft-spoken nature to the fact that I really didn't know anything about global warming going into this class, so it was kind of hard for me to force the passion on this issue. And while I was generally convinced that global warming existed, I really couldn't explain any reason why I thought so. I couldn't really back up this position, but I feel like over the past 10 weeks I have a much better understanding of global warming and that it does pose some threats to every one of us. So just reflecting on my debate, I feel like being on the policy team allowed me to learn a lot of facts about global warming, and my topic in particular was that reducing carbon emissions is a good policy for mitigating global warming threats. Currently, I feel like the burning of coal and natural gas is a problem because I learned recently that any emissions that are above what the Earth can absorb are kind of detrimental to the carbon cycle. And I even felt like during our own debate, the opposition did a good job of convincing the audience that this might not be as big of a problem as it is, and I was getting intimidated during the debate, and I feel like that just speaks to the power of uncertainty and how you can't really make up your mind indefinitely because there's a lot of times other evidence that could maybe prove you wrong. But I do feel like to effectively address global warming, we should reduce the amount of heat trapping emissions that we put into the atmosphere. When I was reading back the comments for our debate, we got a lot of constructive criticism that we should have mentioned more policy for the solutions, and we had those, but we didn't really articulate them very well, as respectfully pointed out by Rana. So I think since then I've kind of gone back and thought about what I would do differently and what I would say. So if I had the chance to do it over again, I think I would just say that we need to place limits on the amount of carbon that polluters are allowed to emit, and we should probably also expand the use of renewable energy and transform the energy system into one that's cleaner and less dependent on other fossil fuels. I think that this might require a large investment of money, but it could be worth it to prevent us from problems in the future. I feel like I'm still not certain where I stand on things, but I am more convinced that global warming exists. I just think that my personal opinion did end up coinciding with the side that I was assigned for this matter, which was the proposition side. I do think that global warming is a problem that benefits everyone and that there should be policies implemented regardless of political affiliation. But I just learned a lot from this class in general. I want to thank my partner, my opposition, and my group leader, and the TAs and Professor Miller for just teaching me a lot throughout the course of this class.
Thank you, Allie. Okay, we'll reconvene with the that end of roll call on the second floor. If you have to leave, sayonara. See you all Wednesday, 11:30, right here. You can't do it today.
We have like 2 hours to do it.
You have to go surfing in Malibu, right? Bye. Thank you.
Alright, I'm doing it now.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna leave this running.
Can I miss this part?
What?
Do you need my syllabus, or I can just get it online?
Yeah, you can have your syllabus back. Go ahead and take it back. Can you find it in there real quick?
I mean, if you want to get it done, do it.
You have to turn in the brief or the summary. Should I turn it in now or?
Yeah.
And I didn't write on it. I should.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to ask him.
I'll just ask.
Sorry. I emailed him.
All right, take it.
Thank you. Take care, Sam. Sam, did you ever talk to him?
What? Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh, good. Good.
Thanks.
So I just wrote my thing for next week, but I can't find the article that you were talking about in the syllabus. You say you have to include, like you have to read and include something from
On being critical by House
yeah.
It's on the website.
Where I didn't see it on
Yeah.
the website. Do you know where?
Let's go there now.
Well, do you want to just do that after and then I can email her about it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Or I can do it right now while.
Can we just like include a quote from him in there or something?
No, it's important you read that article. That's central.
But like, how would you like us to include it in there?
A quote.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. But it's important you read the whole article. And it's good to know that the webmaster did not forward it. It's got to be there. It's
Was
there.
that from last quarter?
Yes. Yes.
Is it under the name?
Yeah, I found it.
On being
He found
Oh, you
it.
found it?
Yeah, it's on CCL. It's
Because I'm not that tech savvy.
I think it's in.
There's just like a lot of.
Because I literally did control find. I was like, I'm being critical.
Can you recommend a good?
You can even Google it.
I'm teaching to be
book or
critical.
debating
Okay,
book?
that's okay.
The one I used for my beginning debate
Thank you,
class.
Elizabeth.
Which? What?
It's called On Teaching to Be
Beginning
Critical.
debates.
Oh, okay. The blue one.
Yeah.
Can I email my self-evaluation to you, or does that have to be?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Thank you.
It was there, right?
Yeah, it was. The author's name just wasn't there, so I'll update that right now.
Let's do that
Yeah.
in a minute.
Sorry, guys.
Do you guys know?
Yeah, that would be great. Can you carry these 3? And this, I'm going to just carry the camera because it's rolling still.
Are you doing this?
Yeah.
Need help?
Yeah. I have your phone.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Can you, Rhonda, can you carry that? I'll carry the camera and like. Do we leave anything? So no one's turned in my flip camera and tripod.
What?
No one's turned in my flip camera and tripod. Reward.
Oh, did somebody take it?
Yeah.
That's rude.
It's deeply rude.
Has that ever happened to you?
No.
Never?
No.
In all your years?
40 years.
That's crazy.
Because that's so random. Why would somebody want that?
Probably to film themselves autoeroticizing would be my guess, you know.
Well, you got the tripod.
No, they took the tripod. This I had to buy this new.
Oh.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And you might be right.
It's okay. It's a good investment. It lasts 40 years.
You were pretty calm about it when you mentioned that someone stole it that day.
No, there's like he has the.
Well, I rushed back. Rushed back the minute class was over
Oh, okay.
because the guy was rushing me to get out of the room.
Oh, the next class?
The next guy, what?
Where are we supposed to do?
In the Comm Studies conference room.
No, like she goes. Like she'll know. Oh, okay. And not our 5 group.
There's Wyatt.
Wyatt Earp.
shot the gun. I thought you were already over there.
You shocked my guy.
What?
Is there somebody in that room?
Which one?
The conference room.
I didn't see anyone.
Okay.
It may not have been looked hard enough.
Ooh, there is somebody in there. Oh shit. Okay. Okay, I guess this is gonna be a bore. Let's see. Let me see how long this guy's gonna be in here. Oh yeah. Oh, let's see. Let's try the African Studies conference room. This is a new event. I'm gonna ask. Yeah, why not? 2, 3, 4. Otherwise, we'll have to just
give us 100.
get a room. What?
He's like, we'll get Olympic scores. I don't think it works that way, guys. Nice try, though.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm swell. It's good to be swell.
That's true. Come in, it's 135. Okay, thank you. I'm gonna run those.
Oh, the light's off. That's good. Okay, hang on just a second.
Oh, what you got? You taking photos today?
No, but I just got kicked out of my classroom. I was giving a final, and I need 20 minutes. I was wondering if I could borrow your conference room for 20 minutes. Would that be cool?
Yeah, we'll kick you
Thanks.
out.
The next class coming in.
Painful.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Go ahead. There you go.
Thank you so much. Okay, guys, let's get this done. Yeah.
Wait, I don't want to be in your shop. Do you want?
The next person is. The next person is. Can you shut that door so we don't disturb them, please? Thank you. Okay.
You're so nice.
After everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, rude, huh?
I'm putting your coffee here so you can look at the pictures. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you guys can pull the chairs back. You guys can pull the chairs back and sit down. Just stay out of the picture. That's fine. Yeah. Daniel, yeah. I love that introduction. I'm just a Jewish kid from the San Fernando Valley, and that's relevant because.
It's a surprise.
Oh, heritage, yeah, very beautiful. Life is beautiful. Can you pull those 3 chairs back? Actually pull all the chairs back, yeah. Okay. And we continue with this beautiful experience. Okay, Daniel, and I have Daniel's la-di-da here, and I have the timer here, and I'm working in red. Okay, rock and roll, Daniel.
So like a lot of students in our class, I also came into this not too certain about where I stood on my position on climate change. After hearing all the different perspectives from debates about fracking, reducing carbon emissions unilaterally, and all totally different types of debates that all related to the overall picture of climate change, I've come to more of a conclusion on the fact that there really is not certainty about this issue. Yes, we're closer to drawing correlations to the fact that human carbon emissions does play a role in the increases in temperature, but those facts are somewhat have been somewhat catastrophized, and I think that that's the real problem.
No, I don't think so. Is it supposed to be?
Is it 13?
I'm on 56 seconds. 56 seconds.
13:22. See, what's CIW?
Yeah, hang out. They're finishing the class.
All right, yeah.
Just hang out.
Sorry, thank you.
Oh, we're all in Google Live.
Okay, so I was about like 1 minute. Somewhere. Okay. Hold on. Let me get where I was.
Go.
Yeah. And so it seems like this catastrophization of global warming has really convoluted and distorted policymakers' senses of reality as to what the real issue is. Policymakers are supposed to represent the majoritarian interests and perspectives of their constituencies. But if their constituents are not certain, just like I'm not certain about climate change, how are policymakers supposed to make effective policies based on that? And so you see the Paris Agreement, which is, according to John Kerry, enforceable through...
I locked the door.
It's not enforceable. The only way it's going to be enforced is through the powerful weapon of public shaming. And this is not any sort of legitimate enforcement abilities. And so you get that coupled with Bjorn Longborg's perspective that just decreasing global temperatures by 0.05 degrees Fahrenheit by 2100 isn't really going to make that big of a difference. So it's really confusing as to where policymakers are heading, but I just think that the main point here is that it's really difficult to come to consensus internationally about countries' priorities. And what my debate was about is the unilateral reduction of carbon emissions by the United States, regardless of whether China, India, and the developing countries reduce. And I was arguing for a side that I didn't agree with, because I think that American policy needs to portray the priorities of American citizens, and that you can't have non-Americans and Americans with different priorities trying to come to some sort of common goal. But this Paris Agreement is a step in the right direction, because it's taking a lot of uncertainty and putting it together in some sort of form that we can move forward towards a more with progress towards a more functional approach on solving the issues of climate change. Am I done with time?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, Wyatt Earp.
Alrighty.
Rock and roll.
Just tell me when.
Go now.
Sweet.
Camera's rolling,
Hi,
Dave.
I'm Wyatt, and
Hi, Wyatt.
in high school I learned about the life of a great man who lived during the Italian Renaissance, whose words rang more truth than I could have realized in this class. And those words were, "Nothing is true. Everything is permitted." Ezio Auditore is lessons reflected one of the key important things that I learned in this class. See, while researching fracking, I found reports that said fracking is good, fracking is bad, fracking is the savior for the environment, or fracking is one of the 4 horsemen sent from the depths of hell here to destroy us all. And in my debate, Yasmin and I used the same sources to argue on 2 different sides of the same topic. And I also learned that you can sway people's opinions through any means necessary. For instance, Austin brought up the topic of lobbyists. I didn't even think that we would be talking about this particular topic, but did it sway the audience to his side? It did. So, I've learned that we can't be sponges, holding on and soaking up all the relevant information that's thrown at us. We have to take learning into our own hands, take a step back, and look at the arguments, look at, is this viable? Is this true? And we can't align ourselves with people who have the same ideology as us. Otherwise, we're alienating ourselves because what we believe to be true, what we perceive, may not be true. So, I was previously on the side of fracking that it's terrible. We need to ban it outright completely. And I was exposed to information that led me to believe that it's a necessity right now. And for the purposes of the debate, I had to believe this. I had to go against with something that I truly believed in, something that I held to my core, and it's hard to argue with something that you really don't believe in. And I built up an ideology by fitting in the right puzzle pieces that I could become passionate about, and I was surprised by the results of the debate itself. And in the end, I still believe that fracking is terrible. It harms people and the environment, and it's not sustainable, but it may be a necessary evil for now. And we'll use it for as long as enough that we need until solar or wind or any other type of alternative energy can replace it. And I would see global warming as kind of a sinking ship filled with a bunch of holes pouring into it. And we take the time to plug up all these little sources, but fracking might be a hole that's pouring in slow enough that we may be able to develop a patch to plug up all the holes. So I just want to say that this class has changed my mentality about how I look at arguments and how I look at global warming. And I want to thank you all for that, and thank you for an awesome forum.
Thank you, Wyatt. Victor. Quickly.
Hi everyone, my name is Victor.
Hi,
I'll
Victor.
break my speech into 3 parts. First impressions of class, and then the policy debate that I participated in, and then my stance after the debate. So when I first learned that the central topic for the class would be about global warming, I found it difficult to kind of imagine how the discussion would pan out. I thought, like everyone else, that global warming was indisputably real, and that we must act immediately, and such beliefs were only strengthened after watching An Inconvenient Truth. However, a week later, such beliefs were shattered after watching the Great Global Warming Swindle, and the film raised some interesting questions such as, what percentage of are humans accountable for global warming? How timely must we act? And if we even do reduce carbon emissions, how effective would that even be? So it kind of added a dimension of complexity that I didn't really consider before. And these questions are examples of the underrepresented voice in a city like Los Angeles. And I will admit that hearing more of what the other side had to say in all these debates did lead me to become more of a skeptic about global warming. But the main reason why I see myself as a skeptic is due to my experience in actually collecting the information for the debate, which I'll elaborate on later. But for now, I'll talk a little bit about the debate that I was part of. I debated for the opposition side on the motion that the U.S. should unilaterally reduce carbon emissions, regardless of whether or not China, India, and developing countries cooperate. My initial stance was in favor of the opposition. It didn't make sense to me that the U.S. should unilaterally reduce carbon emissions when it was a global issue to begin with in the first place. Just before doing any research, I had this hunch that the benefits did not outweigh the costs. I felt like the benefits were too far removed or detached from the people that ultimately make these policies. People won't wake up and say that, we're going to save $4 billion in the health industry, and that's why we need to, enact these policies that reduce carbon emissions. What they really feel is that the electricity bill at the end of the day. And it kind of gave me insight that you can tackle debate as a matter of policy and not fact or value, and really show that such a policy wouldn't work because it's not feasible. It wouldn't even make it through Congress because it doesn't have the support, or it wouldn't garner enough support to even pass the bill in the first place. So that kind of only just reaffirmed my belief or doubt that action can be done by the government. If I had to recommend a plan, I would suggest cutting back carbon emissions to an extent where the United States can still maintain economic growth. Longboard planning stated that the first few percentages of cutting back carbon emissions can be done, but the next few become exponentially more costly. So I kind of recommend a middle-of-the-road approach. And I realized that with a lot of these debates, I was kind of taking both parts, taking information from both sides and kind of going with a compromise. And I realized that, I'm sure you can all relate, that when researching for your own side, you found pretty compelling information for the opponents, which kind of even made you question your own stance. And that just goes to show how information can be skewed or manipulated or omitted to favor one side. And I think as a result of that experience in drafting my own brief and doing cross-examination, I found that there's a lot to be skeptical about.
Thank you very much. Okay. And Ronan, last but not least. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ryan.
Okay. Hello, my name is Rana,
Hi, Rana.
and I was the leader of the opposition to the topic, reducing carbon emissions is a good policy for mitigating global warming threats. So, my beliefs before the debate. Before the debate began, I believed global warming existed. Now I believe climate change exists. I thought it wasn't catastrophic, and I still believe that. But I thought that we should do whatever it takes to mitigate the effects anyway, and I still believe that too. So I was a little upset to be debating the opposition. However, as I began to further investigate my topic, I was shocked to realize how many failed attempts of policy there was in mitigating carbon emissions. Factually, this may have proven a difficult debate, but as a policy debate, I knew that I had a lot more leeway. Beliefs after the debate. At the end of my research, I was still not fully convinced of my own position. I really do believe that the main reason my partner and I were able to win the debate is because we consistently pointed out flaws in our opponents and that they held the burden of proof. Essentially, all we had was a really good defensive strategy set up. I know that our offensive was lacking, and in my opinion, this is because there aren't that many other options. Yes, there may have been no good examples of policies mitigating carbon emissions in the past, but that does not mean there can't be a successful policy in the future. The Paris Agreement gives me hope that such a future is possible, and that is my plan to be in place. The Paris Agreement is actually two different documents. The agreement itself, which is legally binding, and the Paris Decision, which passes the agreement and sets out a number of less legally binding ways to approach and observe it. Unlike previous attempted climate treaties, such as the Kyoto Protocol, the Paris Agreement has the backing of 195 countries, including the United States, China, and a developing India. The Framework Convention establishes the principle of common but differentiated responsibility. That is, everyone has a role to play in keeping the world safe, but highly developed countries have the most responsibility. So instead of having the poorest nations use the most expensive technology, we can regulate a more sustainable strategy. The UN now hopes to limit carbon emissions, not with mandatory cutbacks, but with voluntary national commitments. Instead of handing down orders from high developed countries, the UN expects every nation to bring their best dish to the party. Reflections on my own case. Through the debate, I found the importance of a strong rebuttal. In many of the comments posted on my UCLA, it was specified that my rebuttal is what won most of the audience over. Moreover, through rewatching the YouTube videos, I saw firsthand that when I become passionate about a subject, I begin to speak quickly and my voice gets extremely squeaky. This is problematic because it hurts my authority. I hope that I have kept a level voice throughout this speech and maybe even seemed a little bit friendlier. I thank this captive audience, and I look forward to using your critiques within my public speeches throughout the rest of my life.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're done. Okay, we're done. Quickly. Any of you grab all this, please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys on Tuesday.
Wednesday.
Oh shit.
I've been talking to the